Hello, I'm Devin, integrative health expert, Ayurvedic health advisor, and holistic coach. Welcome to InnerSpark Living from Your True Nature podcast. This is a resource for those ready to gently, naturally, and sustainably restore their energy, their clarity, their health, and their wholeness. Each episode offers grounded, practical guidance and soul deep insight drawn from nature's wisdom, integrative health, and the timeless principles of Ayurveda. Together, we explore real, sustainable self care, healing from the root and how to actually get there, and dissolving the inner barriers that keep you unwell, depleted, and stuck in survival mode. This is an invitation back home to yourself. And now for today's episode. Hello, welcome. So today we are exploring a question that I feel lots of people are carrying right now, and it's, what do I do? What can I do? How can I actually help? How do I make a difference when the needs of the world and all that's happening feel endless? Where do I even start? How do I care and stay informed without collapsing? And how do I stay open hearted when the world feels so heavy and divided? And with these questions, there's a lot of feelings that swirl through. There's grief and overwhelm and confusion, and sometimes even shame. So, shame arises when we compare our circumstances to another's and think that maybe we aren't suffering enough to warrant the sorrow or the grief that we may feel, that our pain isn't as justified as another's. And there can be shame when we don't know what to do or when our capacity feels smaller than we think that it should in order to meet the demands that we think we should be able to meet. And so it's a lot to hold. It's a lot to hold. And I want to explore that today. I want to explore what it actually means and looks like to be of service in a world that is hurting. So, if you've been feeling any of these things, I want to begin by saying that your tenderness makes sense, your confusion makes sense, and your care makes sense. And I see you. And so the question is definitely not whether you care, it's how to care in a way that becomes medicine to clarify and inspire the meaningful action that will make a difference. So, helping you to come out of that place of just kind of frozen, like, oh my gosh, everything is so big, and where do I even start? So, that's where we're going today. Something that I've experienced and that I witness in clients is that in our most sincere attempts to be of service in the world, many people, very well intentioned people, swing between two extremes in their reactions to world challenges and heaviness. And so the first is swinging towards shutdown. So, like disconnecting, numbing, withdrawing, turning away because everything just feels like it's too much. Then the other extreme, so the other side of the coin, is overextension, overdoing. So, this outrage, this urgency, kind of anxiety driven behavior, pouring yourself out until there is nothing left. And it's kind of like burnout disguised as virtue. And so I say this lovingly to all of us. I've been here too. I'm not exempt. Neither side of that coin creates the kind of change that most of us long for. And often it becomes a cycle of overextension yielding itself to shutdown until we're ready for the next bout of overextension. And the truth is that neither of those places, those extremes, is the ground from which meaningful action grows. And neither is sustainable. Neither is actually doing anything except hurting you. So, what the world actually needs is not more reaction and more extremes. It actually needs grounded people. Okay? Grounded people, people who can remain human in inhumane times, people who can feel deeply and hold their experience without collapsing, people who can act without hatred, without adding more hatred to the hatred that's already blazing like a wildfire, and people who can tell the truth without abandoning love. Your presence is not separate from your contribution, so from your doing. Because the state of your being, your very presence, your beingness is the service. It is how to serve. So, what is being infused in the action? What is motivating the action? And how are you on the inside of you while taking action? What is happening at the like level of your consciousness, your emotions and your mind? Who you are while you act matters. What energy you carry into the room matters, whether that's a physical room or a virtual space, just literally or metaphorically, any type of room. Whatever you carry into the interaction matters. And the consciousness that you bring into the space, especially into conflict, really matters. Otherwise, there is the risk of simply generating more of the same dysfunction that you're seeking to mend. So think about that for a moment. Without being really intentional and clear on the inside, anything that comes out of you is running the risk of generating more of the dysfunction that you are seeking to mend. And another thing to remind us all is that you do not need to collapse in order to care. So, like, your level of care is not mirrored by how burnt out and exhausted and frustrated and outraged you are. I've often heard people say things like, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. And I kind of disagree. So if you're outraged, like outwardly raging, let's, think about the word, you're dysregulated. You're not anchored in love and presence. You're not acting from a grounded place that's actually going to create any type of shift in the collective. And you're really just matching the same level and energy of dysfunction, just kind of like meeting it. So awareness of what's happening, care of what's happening does not require reactivity or collapse, and certainly not more hatred. There is another way to be of service, and it begins inside of us, and then that moves outside. So, service rooted in love is a movement from the inside out. We often think that service only means what we are doing. It's a very external definition. We think of it as what we are doing. So, like donating, volunteering, organizing, speaking out, helping others in visible ways. And yes, those things are so important and they matter. But again, it's that consciousness that you bring into the action that matters deeply and that makes it true, meaningful service that can make change. Just think about it for a moment. Action fueled by panic kind of just spreads more panic. And action fueled by contempt spreads more contempt. Action fueled by our unresolved pain often just creates more pain. And so perhaps you can remember times in your life when you've experienced this firsthand, even in, maybe a disagreement with a partner or with a child, like it kind of just can turn into this snowball effect. But the other side of this, action rooted in steadiness and compassion and courage and clarity and love, it all carries different medicine and different impacts when that is what is moving us from the inside and the action spills from there when we're moved to act from that place. Sometimes the most meaningful action that we can take is to stabilize ourselves, inner stabilization, inner work, a real connection with our own heart and the spark of the divine that lives there within us. So I call this self-care. Yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh, self-care is like bubble baths and exercise." And yeah, those things are delicious. And real self-care involves self-inquiry and examining those parts of ourselves we hide in the shadows. That is the ultimate service. Being with those parts of yourselves that you hide in the shadows, being real with yourself, that is self care, that's collective care. That is how you stay anchored and rooted to ensure that any actions you're taking are coming from a place of truth. And only from that place can we influence real, meaningful change in the world. And the ability to practice that level of real, raw self inquiry, self care, exploration on a moment to moment basis begins with stability by tending our daily foundational needs. And that's really the only way. And yet the stick of it is many people feel guilty tending to themselves while the world is hurting. And it kind of makes no sense. Like it does make sense. I can see why we feel this way, but it really makes no sense when we kind of zoom out and look at the big picture. We feel guilty and then avoid tending our basic foundational daily needs, caring for ourselves, going deep because the world is hurting. And so then we're hurting and then we're generating more hurt. And the collective cup of hurt is overflowing. Makes no sense. I've had many clients over the years who literally felt guilty for doing things like eating well, resting, moving their bodies, making time for meaningful self reflection. Yet they will spend the time they claim they didn't have to like prepare a meal on over consuming the news or scrolling social media. They'll also lose time and vitality to frequent illness that they recognize is from stress and not caring for themselves by living in that way. And again, I've been there too. I'm not like sitting here preaching or shaming. Like this is kind of the human thing in our modern life and the way that we've been conditioned and programmed. And it kind of just doesn't make any fracking sense. So if you are collapsed, burnt out, chronically dysregulated, bitter, disconnected, unwell, what is possibly going to move through you cleanly? What kind of medicine can be carried through an exhausted vessel? How are you going to find that anchored inner wisdom, that place of stability to be able to move into meaningful action that isn't going to simply generate more pain and hurt in the world, that can have meaningful change that you're wanting because you're asking yourself, what can I do? How can I help? How can any of that be possible without you in your fullness, in your full, whole, ever evolving, ever expanding self? Your practices are not separate from serving the world, they are service. Eating a nourishing meal is service because it restores your capacity to care. Rest is service because it prevents bitterness and burnout. Prayer is service because it reconnects you to your truth. Intentional breathing is service because it keeps you from passing pain forward. Healing is service because it ends patterns that would otherwise have continued through you. Your inner world and the state of your nervous system is not separate from your outward contribution. It is your contribution, your beingness, and your presence. When you tend to your inner life, you become more able to really meet reality as it is, as it currently is. And to do that in a way that lets you stay anchored in yourself and respond to life as it is and the needs that arise rather than being in a place of reactivity and delusion. Thus, potentially, of course, generating more of that dysfunction and suffering that has outraged you in the first place. And it's really beautiful when we kind of zoom out even more and reframe all of this. There's a ripple effect of inner work. The healing you do does not stop with you. The patience you cultivate touches everyone that you come in contact with, your family, your community, the cashier at the store. The regulation that you practice changes how you deal with conflict. The self-respect that you embody teaches others what is possible. And the anchored love that you carry becomes something that others really feel. And that is our true nature. We are love. We are units of love. And we forget that. And so, how beautiful it is that we can remember. And then, just by us remembering and being in that, our beingness infuses whatever we are doing and it spills out and it's infused with love. Practice this, even like the littlest things. Walk from, your kitchen to your living room, remembering that you are love, and then walk, the same path, kind of forgetting it, right? It's like little things. Brush your teeth with that consciousness and not think of like a meal that you've had that was so good because somebody made it with love. It was infused into that. And the same thing could be made the exact same way, same everything, without that, and it's not going to taste as good. So, healing is service when it ends pain that would have passed through you. I wanted to reiterate that. Allow yourself to remember who you truly are and be someone through whom love can move cleanly. And that is very sacred work. That is no small thing. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the state of the world, I invite you to begin with yourself. The world does not only need action, it needs people whose actions are grounded, are rooted. Begin with what is in your hands today. What is yours to do? So, caring for your body, steadying your breath, tending your mind, letting your emotions be and flow, telling the truth kindly, supporting someone near you, giving where you can, participating where you are called, rest when you need it, please. And all of this allows you to really keep your heart soft. The most radical thing is not another frantic reaction, because that will just breed more freneticism. The real radical act is one person who remains anchored in love, who does not weaponize their pain, who remembers the sacredness in the middle of the storm, who becomes a refuge, a safe haven for others simply by how they live, by their beingness. And one person whose nervous system does not become another site of violence, who refuses to let the world harden their heart. And so we can let that person be us. I think that's amazing. The world's problems aren't yours to solve. You only have to become available to what is yours to do in this moment. What is your peace? And the best way is to let yourself become a vessel for love, letting that be the ground that you live your life on, and letting that move through you and infuse everything that you do, think, say, share. Mm. So, I love to leave you with some reflection questions. I invite you to spend some time with these in the coming days, maybe in your journal. What feels like my most sincere way of serving in this season? What do I need to tend in myself so that love can move through me more freely? Mm, okay. If this resonated with you, please do share it with someone who would also benefit from hearing it. And if you'd like support with your own healing journey, you may explore ways of working with me at innerspark.life. I'll see you next time.